And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have an incredible honor. As you guys know, I'm covering the VFL, the SANFL, and the Waffle. And I want to talk with players. I want to find out what it's like to be a player in the state leagues. And today I have the incredible honor of the captain of the Woodville-West Torrens Eagles ladies team, Miss Annie Falkenberg. Annie, thank you for joining me today.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me, Donnie.
Absolutely. I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with your coach, Narelle Smith, who I absolutely enjoyed our conversation. She was absolutely fantastic. And after we went off mic, she's like, "Do you want to talk to any of our players?" I'm like, "I would love to." And one of the first names that she threw up was yours. So I thought this was absolutely perfect for my first player from the Woodville-West Torrens Eagles to be you, Annie. So before we get into the footy, I know this is a footy chat, but I like kind of finding out a little bit about the person outside of the footy player. So just a little bit about yourself outside of the game of football.
Yeah, so outside of footy, I'm a provisional psychologist. So in Australia, we do 6 years of study to become a registered psychologist. So I'm in my final year at the moment. And I'm currently employed by our Department for Correctional Services. That's working in the justice system. And at the moment, I'm based in all kind of the metropolitan prisons here in South Australia. So I work across the men and the women's correctional facilities here in Adelaide. So I'm in the psych team at the moment with them. So yeah, it's really fun, really interesting. Love my job. It's
Got some
something
interesting
every day.
individuals you're going to run into with that job. So
Yeah. Some good footy fans, which is always nice to have a chat about footy along the way, which is
that's
good.
always fantastic. So let's go into it. You're still very early in your footy days. What is your earliest footballing memory?
So I remember my first training, it was pre-season out at the Adelaide University footy team. And it was I rocked up at training. It was in summer and I was wearing my sunglasses during warm up. And I remember people looking at me funny, thinking, why is she wearing her sunnies in warm up? Because I just thought, well, we're outside. It's summer. It's hot.
Mhm.
Had my sunnies on. And that wasn't a thing apparently that people did in footy in training. So that was kind of my first memory of kind of playing footy and what that was all about. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Absolutely love that. So being a current player, and I love hearing this because everybody has a different reason. What's your favorite part about playing the sport of football?
Yeah, footy, we play, our team is 21 aside. It's a bit different across the leagues, but with us, yeah, we play 21 aside. Oh, sorry, 21 like in a team that run out. So I think at training, we have 30 plus, sometimes 40 plus players on the park. And I think just being around so many people, the energy levels are high, the voice is high. Um, you meet so many different individuals and coaching staff and things like that. So just, yeah, the sheer number of people that you're around each training is probably the best part. Yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. And I always like asking this one again because I don't like assuming because I find fans of all different clubs everywhere. Who is your AFL club and why?
My AFL club is Adelaide Crows. I just grew up supporting them. My dad and kind of mum supported them. I'm actually going to their game this afternoon at Adelaide Oval. So yeah, I just a family thing. I think I just grew up
Mhm.
with the family liking them, and yeah, just really enjoyed them growing up, and yeah, still a supporter now, 26 years later.
There's not a problem with that, but I gotta ask this, and I love this one because I actually interviewed a Port Adelaide supporter that was a
Okay.
child of Adelaide Crow supporters. Is there
Right.
any rebels in the family that jumped in our supporting Port?
I actually don't think there is. I think across my whole family, I think people either don't watch footy or go for the Crows. So I'm pretty lucky that I don't have to support or have to kind of deal with that kind of rivalry in the family. But definitely have some friends that are Port supporters and even play at Port Adelaide. So it can be difficult, but now Crows through and through.
How's the banter for the showdowns when you do chat with your mates that are Port supporters?
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because we often have some neutral supporters there too, you know, that watch the game, and they're probably the worst, actually. The neutral supporters that or don't even go for either of the teams, they're probably the worst rather than the opposition. Yeah.
Sometimes the neutrals are quite the interesting species. I will definitely say that for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to hear it. I am an unabashed Sydney Swan supporter. So
No.
I'm very, very happy about that. In fact, I know I've said several times in this podcast, there's a few that I've watched this year in the SANFLW that I've jokingly said I would love to get over to New South Wales and don the Bloods jersey for them, but I'm not gonna hold my breath too much on
Yeah.
that one. So let's go with this. I always love finding out who's your favorite player that's ever
hmm
donned the Crows jersey, men's or women's.
Oh, Andrew McLeod's probably one of my kind of favorites that when I was a kid, kind of growing up, he was um kind of one of the best in the league at the time, and was just, yeah, an amazing player to watch, and kind of one that, you know, would sell tickets, get bums on seats, as we like to call it. Um, and also I'm trying to think, Rory Sloane's kind of always been one as well that I've kind of grown up with since he was drafted, and now watching him captain Adelaide, and now kind of in his later years as well. Um, and who else? Brodie Smith as well was one I've again kind of grown up watching since he kind of came to the Crows, and now as well as a senior player. So yeah, kind of, yeah, watching players kind of go through their kind of journey in AFL and kind of understanding it a bit more as well now that I'm a player as well, has kind of given me a bit more respect for the players as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. Absolutely love it. Do you have any favorites on the women's team?
On the women's team, I love watching Anne Hatchard. We played basketball together actually growing up. So to see her transition into footy has been really great, and to see the success she's had as well is amazing. I also love Abby Dowrick as well. She doesn't play for Adelaide, but she plays at Port Adelaide.
Mhm.
And we've played a bit of league footy together as well. So yeah, those two kind of just crash the packs kind of players, always bring something to the game, are quite consistent players as well. So, you know, they're always going to be reliable on the field, and yeah, just a joy to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree with both of those on that one. So let's go a little bit on you here. How is it that you found yourself at Woodville-West Torrens?
So my early footy days, I played at Adelaide Uni, and there was a coach there called Tess Baxter, and she was appointed the inaugural women's head coach at Woodville. So she, obviously having a connection with her through Adelaide Uni, she asked if I wanted to come out and just be on the list, be just have a pre-season at Eagles or at Woodville. I'll use those interchangeably probably throughout Woodville Eagles.
Not a
um,
problem.
um, and yeah, so she just said, yeah, come out, have a pre-season, see if you're kind of at that level. And then yeah, kind of have been there ever since. And I played some of my early basketball days at Woodville Warriors, so I kind of always had a link kind of with Woodville, and kind of that side of the city. So yeah, it was kind of a perfect fit for me at the time, and have been there, yeah, ever since.
Fantastic. So I love this next question because I found that it's always interesting that the people that I've talked to, many of them, they answer with a team answer. So I'm interested to see what you answer on this. What is your biggest accomplishment so far as a footballer?
Yeah, it would be hard to go past my first premiership flag. I played my first year, yeah, like I said, at Adelaide Uni, and we won the flag that year. And then the next year we won the flag again. So I was kind of 2 years at footy, two flags. So that was, yeah, a great kind of start to my footy journey, and you know, kind of thought flags was just the normal, I guess. Not many people can probably say they've played 2 years and won two flags. So that was probably a real highlight of my footy career. And yeah, being a part of that culture as well at Adelaide Uni really kind of uh, was like, yeah, footy's kind of for me, and was a great introduction to footy life. And then at Eagles would probably be our first win. I still remember that first win. We were playing out at Elizabeth versus Glenelg, and things just fell into place. And it was actually the day before we went into lockdown in Australia for COVID. So we
Mhm.
knew that that was our last game before the season was going to be put on hold. So yeah, we rocked up to the change rooms and there was a press conference going on. So we didn't even know if we were going to play that night. But the game went ahead and we got the win, and we kind of went out and celebrated knowing it would be our last kind of time. We'd probably see each other for a while. So yeah, at Eagles, that's definitely my most fondest memory.
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. And again, unfortunately, Zoom ended up becoming quite the
Yeah.
comfortable partner for many of us when it comes to it. And it's actually how this podcast actually got started when it comes to it. When at least the connection to footy with the original the channel was a American sports show. And so that's kind of a fun little thing there. So I absolutely love it. So let's go into let's go into the change rooms a little bit. Who's your best mate at the club?
My best mate at the club would have to be maybe Sophie Zool. She's not only one of my best people to play with, but also a really good friend off field. We share a lot together. We've shared a lot of memories together. She's been at the club for 4 years, so we've kind of been there kind of together since kind of those inaugural those early years at the club. And we're very kind of similar in our game style as well, and kind of how we go about it. So she's someone that I admire, as well as is just someone to lean on as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So and I love hearing this because every change room is a little bit different. Every group has a different dynamic. Tell me a little bit about the Woodville-West Torrens, the group this year in the change
Mhm.
rooms. What was it like? Was it fun, business like? Were very happy go lucky? Kind of what was the team like this year?
Yeah, we probably have a more quieter bunch than most teams, and that's just the personnel we kind of have and the personalities in the group. But we do have a couple of loud rah-rah kind of people that get us up and about. We play, I don't know if you know what SoundCloud is, if you guys have that over
Hmm.
in America. But we would play, one of the girls in the team, Leah, kind of would each game play like an hour-long remix of, all the best songs at the time, or the best dance nightclub kind of songs. So we'd always look forward to what remix Leah played each game day. And it was, yeah, that would just kind of get us up and about, dancing. Some girls like myself kind of just like kind of do some mindfulness before the game, or just relax, chill out, just spend time by themselves. Whereas some girls, yeah, kind of love to just be around with each other. But in general, I think it's just a very calm vibe with good tunes going.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I always love a good tune. I was always one of those when I played sports up here, even when I played footy up here, throw the
Mhm.
headphones in, play some good get ready music and just kind of
Mhm.
zone in and get ready for it. So nothing wrong with that. So
Yeah.
as you kind of said in your intro, you're with Sykes, you work a lot with that. So can you just describe to me a typical training day for you? Because I know unfortunately we're still not
Mhm.
at the point where any of you ladies are full-time professional. So, which
Mhm.
again, anybody that listens to my podcast knows, and I will keep saying it every podcast. The day that you ladies become full-time professional will be a great day because you deserve it. So,
Mhm.
straight from coming from an American here, I respect and love you guys so much. I really want you guys to have that. But unfortunately, it's not reality at
Mhm.
this point. So just a typical training day for you.
Mhm.
How long is it and kind of when's your training schedule, so forth?
Yeah, so I work kind of your typical 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So it works in quite nicely with training schedules because we train in the PM, so from 5:30. So a typical day, yeah, would be go to work, pack all my training gear with me, and then I go straight to training from work. Which is I kind of enjoy. Just if I came home, I'd probably get distracted or do something. So I like kind of just going straight into training, get there, get changed, and then pretty much we've got half an hour to kind of, yeah, prep for training, do some skills work, chat to the coaches, catch up, and then we're straight into it. So there's not kind of the drive from work to training is where I kind of shut off from work mode and get into training mode. So I really enjoy kind of that 20-30 minute drive to training. It's quite it's like my downtime kind of thing, just to prep to train.
Mhm.
And then as soon as I walk in the door, yeah, straight into training, straight into all game mode. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's the schedule's full on, but it works really nicely. I'm pretty fortunate to have a work schedule that fits in nicely.
Yeah, and that's always good that you have that nice work that little balance the trip too to kind of get you ready for it. So, and then when it comes to it, I know you guys don't have as much travel as some of the AFL AFLWs, but can you a typical home game for you for Woodville-West Torrens? Kind of what's that like normally? How early do you arrive at the club, and then kind of how when did like team meetings start, so on and so forth.
Mhm. So we probably get to the game about an hour and a half before the first bounce. And that the first 45 minutes to an hour really is just your own time. Normally with the women's league, there's a game on before us. We play a lot of double headers. So often we'll sit and watch the game before us for a bit just to kind of relax, just hang out with each other a bit before the game. And then, yeah, we'll head in for a team meeting about 50 minutes before the first bounce. And in the change rooms, we'll have the schedule all lined up all the way through to that first bounce. So full team meeting, then we go into line meetings, bit of free time, then we'll do our first warm up, a little bit more free time, then another group meeting, and then we're out in the park. So the schedule is the exact same every game day. It's just, yeah, the kind of hour before what that looks like, pending if there's a game on before us.
Awesome, awesome. So I love finding this because again, with the women's, it's not always as easy to have a women's player that you look after. Was there a player either in the men's or even in the women's that you kind of model your game after?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to play with a lot of kind of AFLW girls that have come through our program. One player in particular, Renee Forth. She's someone I probably model my game off. She's a defender as well, as am I. She's just got great athleticism, has no fear. She's been playing for most of her life, so has a lot of those kind of instinctual kind of fundamental skills that she's kind of developed, which is something I probably lack, only having played the game since I was an adult. And just the way she can kind of analyze a game and look at a game from kind of a different lens than probably I do. So I really enjoy kind of bouncing off ideas with her and doing some skills work with her. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Again, I love this next one because it's always interesting because everybody has a different kind of a look at this. Who's the toughest opponent you have ever faced, either one-on-one or even team? Toughest opponent.
I was actually thinking, yeah, about this question last night. Probably there's a girl called Elaine Grigg. She plays for
Mhm.
Centrals. I lined up on her in our last game against Centrals. And she's not that tall. I'm probably almost a head taller than her. But I was lining up on her, and I'm someone that's quite mobile, kind of likes to always be on the move, whereas she kind of just utilizes her speed in contests. So it was kind of frustrating. I was like, come on, like, I like to
Mhm.
kind of be on my toes and, move around, whereas she just utilizes her speed. So we'll
Mhm.
often hold her ground and then just go, which was a real kind of challenge for me to kind of keep up with her. And, I'd kind of lost her around the ground a bit just due to her speed and her ability to read the footy. So, yeah, it was definitely a challenge for me and something, yeah, maybe faced with that challenge again, or she may be drafted into the AFLW world. But yeah, she's always a challenge for the whole team even to line up against.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. She was quick as a hiccup and just found ways to
Yeah.
get there, and she was tough as nails too. So she isn't the
Yeah.
big, she isn't the most burly girl in the world. But she
Yeah.
went after it. And I absolutely appreciated
Yeah.
that attack on it. So that is nothing to shake at when it comes to it. So we'll kind of focus on the season just past this year. So kind of
Mhm.
your thoughts on this year, because for me, from what I hear, a little bit more success this year than you had last.
Yeah, I think if we look at it from a win-loss ratio, I think we had a draw this year, which got us one kind of
Mhm.
point ahead of last, even though no one really ever likes a draw. So I guess if you look at it from that perspective, yes, more successful in the points. But overall as well, I think our game style, we were able to execute it a lot better this year. And that's just because we've had an extra year to kind of practice and understand Narelle's game plan and kind of systems that are involved within that. And I think just as a culture, from a cultural perspective, as well as just the bond we've had within the group as well. This year, we've all been really connected on and off the field. We all enjoy hanging around each other. We hang out with each other before and after games, before and after trainings. We enjoy each other's company, which goes to say a lot about kind of the culture Narelle's kind of established and the club as a whole.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And I know I had so much fun talking with Coach Smith because she such a legend from everything that I hear, everything that I read. She's such a legend in SA football. And for her to be able to share that knowledge and to see the success that you ladies kind of slowly started building into, it was so much fun. I have to say there were two teams that I really kind of took a soft spot to going into the year, and that was you guys at Woodville-West Torrens because of Narelle, and then Norwood with Ali Farrell, who I had the pleasure of chatting with. And so I definitely kept an eye on you two teams a little bit more than some of the others. But as the year went on, I found soft spots for almost all of the teams in the competition because there was something that I just loved the SANFLW this year. Like, I think the comp was absolutely fantastic. The footy was magnificent. I enjoyed staying up even to midnight watching every game that I could because it was so much fun. So I will move off my soapbox there for just the
That's
tiniest
okay.
bit.
It's great to hear that you're
So,
enjoying
so
it.
I love asking this question because everybody answers it a little bit differently. Would you consider this season a success?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say yes. I think success can be measured in multiple different ways. And I think, we did set the expectations that we would make finals this year. But I think the way we've kind of handled ourselves on the field, off the field, from a cultural perspective, I think the successes we had in those spaces probably just notch us above. It's always probably more worthwhile than making finals this season, if that kind of makes sense. It's always difficult to have to kind of go through the losses we had and kind of have those expectations and that kind of goal taken away. But I think we made up for that in terms of the success we had in terms of executing our game plan and the off-field stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I don't always like going here, but sometimes I think it's great for a reflection. What was your biggest challenge you think this year?
Oh, for myself personally, I think I've been at the club since the start, since our inaugural year, and with that can come some baggage and kind of expectations that maybe I have that may not align maybe with some other expectations of players coming into the program, which is no fault of their own and probably something I don't like to kind of carry either. So kind of managing those expectations and adjusting those expectations to meet the team and to kind of get on the same page as well at the start of the year was something I probably internally struggled with a little bit. But yeah, working through that with the coaching staff and the other kind of senior players as well, kind of reduce that kind of burden that I was kind of carrying around with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So and I know we're just off the last season. We're still actually haven't even finished with the grand final coming up in mere hours from now. But do you have a goal for next year?
I think finals is the goal again for the team. We'll probably always place that expectation on us for years to come. But I guess being the only team in the competition now that hasn't played in the finals, I think it's a realistic goal for us and one that we'll be chasing until we get there. And yeah, allowing ourselves to lean into that expectation a bit more as well and kind of understand that it's still a challenge for us and we need to take that challenge head on. And yeah, I think it's time to meet that expectation. So yeah, that's kind of the goal.
I
And then from
love
there,
it. I
vibes.
love it. I think it's a great idea. I even remember going back and forth with Coach Smith going with 3 rounds left. I said, "You're still a shot for finals." So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge stretch. I think there was definitely some growing pains this year, but definitely some progression. So definitely not a bad goal to go on to. So one of the things that I've absolutely loved when it comes to watching footy is the connection with with the supporters and the fans. And I really think that women's footy just seems to have that little extra bit of a connection with
Mhm.
the supporters. So can you give me your best fan interaction that you've ever had?
Yeah, there's been a few. There's an Instagram account called Eagles Flags, and it's this young girl that just loves the footy club and makes little remixes and videos of the players. She watches every game, and no one kind of knew who ran this account. And then one day, I met her at one of our games, and she was just the most wholesome girl who just appreciated what we were doing, just playing, and everything else. Yeah, just was so excited to meet the players, introduce herself, wanted photos with us. And I think, sometimes we forget that there's people that may not be at the games each week, but are still there supporting us, whether that be watching the games online or from afar, and understanding, yeah, the connection we have to the wider community. It was great to kind of see that brought to light with this young fan. Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely love it. I love these stories. They're so cool. So I cherish them because they're so awesome to see. Like for me, they're so cool. So I'm gonna have some fun with you right now. We're gonna take you out of coach mode. We're gonna take you out of player mode, and we're gonna have some fun here. I'm gonna install you as the Woodville-West Torrens women's list manager. You have all of the other teams in the SANFLW. You can pick one player to join you next season for the Eagles to get you over that hump, to get you to the finals. Who's that one player that's donning the Eagles Guernsey next year?
Oh, I might put my hand up and take Caitlin Rosenwig. She's the leading goal kicker, or was the
Mhm.
leading goal kicker of the league, and she's playing for Centrals in their grand final tomorrow. I think having a key forward is something that we're looking to recruit next season. Someone that has a presence up forward, can play up the ground, has strong marking ability, can kick snaps, can kick drop punts, can kick torts, can kick dribbles. Her skill range is amazing, and her goal sense is great too. So and I don't know her personally, but from what I know, she sounds like a great person. So yeah, I think a nice key tall forward would be great.
Absolutely not a bad choice at all. The Duggies she has been fantastic for the Duggies this year, including a couple of late goals to win them
Yeah.
games. So that is a magnificent choice for a team that's maybe just needs that one thing up forward. So absolutely love it. So we're gonna have a little bit more fun. We may throw a few teammates under the bus here, but I'm interested to see how this goes. So first teammate that comes to mind when I'm gonna throw a few things out here. So on the Woodville-West Torrens Eagles, who's your team mom?
I would say Amy Blandon. She's yeah, another one of the girls that have been there since the inaugural year, and is one of the older girls in the team, even though she'll hate me saying that. But yeah, I'd say Amy Blandon.
All right. Who's the funniest? Who's got the best jokes?
Oh, maybe Poppy Waterford. She's one of the new girls to our team, or was one of the new girls this season. But she's a cracker. Can always count on her to lighten up the mood and break any awkward silences. So yeah.
Fantastic. Who's the toughest? Who's the one that you want on your side?
Oh, I'd have to go Shanae Goody. Um, she's just amazing. The amount of times I've seen her just fly over my head, taking a mark, which I thought was mine, and she just comes in and is like, "Nah, all good, I got it." Yeah, can always trust her to just go hard at the footy, and is, yeah, for someone of her size, is just one of the most toughest players I've ever had the pleasure to play with.
Awesome. All right. Social butterfly. Who's the one that everybody gets around?
Probably Sophie Zool. She's kind of the unofficial social committee team leader. Um, so I would, yeah, Soph's always kind of the go-to to organize or confirm plans.
All right. Who's the most emotional? Who's the one that easily gets the waterworks going?
Or I think probably myself and Amy. Again, being the two that have been at the club since the start, probably we've got a lot of emotion kind of driving us on field. But happy tears as well. I remember when we kicked kind of the ceiling goal against North Adelaide in our last game. I was like, am I crying? I was like, am I crying with happy tears? Because it was just a relief kind of to kind of know that we've sealed the deal with that game. But yeah, we love a cry.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So I love this next one. Corky. Who's the Corkiest? Who's the most unique unit in the Eagles?
Oh, um, I would say that's a tough one. Um, Maybe Cher Waters. She's kind of one of those people you never know what's going on behind closed doors. She kind of keeps her social life. Oh, she's a social butterfly, but yeah, she's from the country, so she's got a bit going on, and yeah, never really know what that girl's up to.
Alrighty. Best cook. Who's the one that you want making the team dinner?
Probably my housemate, B Devlin. She meal preps every meal, even including breakfast. So she's on top of her diet, and is always making simple, quick, easy meals. Yeah, so she would be the cook.
Fantastic. And the last one, I love this one. Who's fashionably late? Who's the one just making it to team meetings on time?
Oh, I'd say maybe Gemma Charity and Chloe Charity. They always kind of roll in a bit fashionably late, but are always there. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, uh, or maybe Brianna Walling as well. She's always getting strapped or getting a massage, so kind of rolls in. But again, always there.
Fantastic. And then I love this. I've found that it penetrates any footy team, even my team up here in the States. I love the footy nickname. I gotta know who's got the best footy nickname at the Eagles.
We've got a girl called Nikita McCrosty. So she kind of has lots of different nicknames. There's Keita, Rusty, um, Krusty the Clown, because McCrosty, Krusty the Clown.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, she's kind of got a fair few. There's a couple of girls that have a fair few nicknames. Not one of them hasn't stuck yet, but yeah, she's one of those.
Awesome, awesome. So, all right, being in SA, I have to ask this because I thought it was magnificent this year having Gather Round. I thought Gather Round was
Yeah.
fantastic. All 9 games in SA. So I gotta
Mhm.
ask, what are your thoughts on Gather Round this year? I mean, did you get a chance to get around a few games while it was in town?
Yeah, Gather Round was amazing, and I think a great success. I know there was a lot of ifs and buts and doubts going on around it, but I think it was a great success. And yeah, I managed to get out to one of the games at Adelaide Oval. Was lucky enough to be in one of the corporate boxes for the first time. So and that was a great game. That was the Crows who played, I think, against Carlton that night. But yeah, it was great, and kind of the ability for the AFL to kind of upgrade grounds, like local grounds as well, was great to kind of have the money pumped into those grounds and make them kind of AFL standard, which is great for those clubs as well.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely magnificent. I like that your premier was able to get a few more years there. I think it was absolutely
Yeah.
magnificent. I can't wait for next year. I've even had a few friends of mine who live in Australia going, Coach, you got to come over for Gather Round. You got to come. And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it were only that simple that I could just hop on a plane and
Yeah.
go, I would. Unfortunately, finances are not that simple. So, but it
Yeah.
is one of those. If I get a chance, I will, because I know I've got an open invitation. I know a few fans have said, come out to see the Norwood ground, come to see the.
Yeah.
That's like OMG. So I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers. So all right. And it kind of it's a perfect transition for what I was just kind of talking about is I'm doing a little bit of research in all of my podcasts when I talk to Australians because again, I have not been there. It is on my bucket
Mhm.
list. I want to get there. I want to see games. in all of the states. I think I could probably couch crash in almost every state
Yeah.
in Australia, because I have friends all over who love that an American loves the footy. So I'm doing a little bit of research trying to find out when I go, I want to have the best possible time. So when you go to the footy as a spectator, what is your go-to food at the footy?
Oh, hot chips. Easy. Hot chips. Some chippies. They've gone up in price though by like 30 cents, I think, at Adelaide Oval. So, but that's just how the cost of living is. But hot chips always, with some sauce. That's my go-to.
There's nothing wrong with that. That is a solid second behind the old faithful meat pie. Are the
Yeah.
two top one? Are they the two top ones? Whenever I ask, and then I love this one. When you go to the footy, where is your ideal place to sit? Where do you think is the perfect place to watch the footy?
Probably undercover. I'm,
I
I
love it.
no, but I don't, like I said, I'm not a very rah-rah loud person. I don't like to be
There's
up,
nothing wrong with that.
with the cheer squad or standing or anything like that. I like to be comfortable. I like to be in a nice cozy spot. Yeah, preferably in a quieter section, undercover, somewhere where I can just enjoy the game. So yeah, I think today I'm not sure where we're sitting, but I think sitting on as well the western side is always the best, because then you don't get the glaring sun at you when it sets, or if you're there in an arvo game. So yeah, the western side's always probably the best.
Fantastic. All right, and then the piece de resistance, my last question, and I love this. I'm kind of setting up a playlist because I've gotten so many great suggestions. Favorite game of footy you have ever seen, men's, women's, doesn't matter, live, at the ground, on the television. Favorite game of footy you have ever seen.
Oh, my memory is not that good these days. But probably this year the showdown. I think it was early round, maybe 3 or 4, when Jordan Dawson kicked the goal after the siren. That was God, that was a good
Mhm.
game. That sits nice and tight in my heart. Um, but yeah, oh, my memories. Yeah, probably um that's all I can think of at the moment. On the spot. I'll just say that one. But yeah, I think
Oh, I love it.
in the women's comp, probably their first grand final at Adelaide Oval. I wasn't actually able to be at that game. I had a game on at the very similar time. But yeah, that game was probably, in terms of the women's league, was probably one of the best games. Will go down in history as one of the best games
Mhm.
in the women's space. Yeah.
Yeah, or even another one that I love at the Adelaide Oval was, I think, 2019 grand final between them and Carlton, where they sold out the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
Magnificent. It's kind of marred a little bit with Erin Phillips having her knee injury, which I
Yeah.
think really kind of brought it down a little bit, but a fantastic game of footy. And the fact
Yeah.
that South Australia showed up for that game, 53,000, absolutely
Yeah.
magnificent. I've said it when it comes to Port Adelaide and Adelaide. I think South Australia has really embraced both their AFLW teams, because the fan bases have been magnificent both at
Yeah.
Alberton and at Norwood for the Adelaide Crows. So, and I
Yeah.
hope it continues. I really really do, because these are magnificent players that deserve the
Yeah.
support. So Annie, that is going to do it for my questions. This has been a magnificent chat here. I've truly appreciated. I love the bubbly personality. I've really enjoyed, like I said, getting to watch the ladies of the Woodville-West Torrens Eagles this year. I hope you have a wonderful off season. Hopefully you get rested up and are raring and ready to go next year. I will be sitting in my living room watching it as much as I possibly can, because as I said, this was my first year watching the SANFLW and I was thoroughly impressed. I sat up till 2 in the morning watching the games. I cannot wait to do it again next year.
Great. Thank you so much. And yeah, that means a lot, kind of on behalf of the Woodville team as well. Just yeah, the support we've got internationally is just amazing. And as SANFLW as a whole, it's we really appreciate it that you're on board and have enjoyed the season. And hopefully tomorrow's, or today for you, or no, tomorrow for me, probably 2 days for you.
Tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night. The game starts,
Tomorrow
if I
night.
remember correctly, it's 11:45 start. So I'm gonna have to make sure I get an energy drink into me, maybe get a nap in during the day. But
Yeah.
I will be up watching South Australia and South Adelaide and Centrals. I think it's going to be a magnificent game. Those it's hard to say
Yeah.
those were the two best teams this season. I think it's going to be absolutely magnificent. And I'm
Yeah.
crossing my fingers. I believe after the season that I may be able to get both of their captains, both Shelby Smith and Bree Cleggett, to hop on the podcast as well. So I'm working
Oh.
on it. I'm hoping, I think it'll be fantastic to have both of those magnificent players on the podcast as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for another interview series on the Donnie's Disposals. Again, keep an eye out. More coverage of the AFL, the AFLW coming very, very soon. More VFL, Sandful, and Waffle coming on the podcast very, very soon. Thank you for listening. We will see you again on another episode of Donnie's Disposal.